Hey, friends and fans. James here, Drew D, Nick Lemire, and we're going to have a little bit of a halfway through the season. Can you believe it's almost halfway through the season of this Montreal Canadiens campaign, defending their, I guess, Eastern Conference champion? What conference were they in last year? Doesn't matter. Nothing.
Clarence Campbell title. We won the Clarence Campbell title. You better believe it. All right. Sorry.
Exactly. It's been a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
But we thought it was an opportune time to get together. I know Drew and Nick, we haven't talked in some time on the show publicly, but we do talk behind the scenes. We're all friends. But I guess for you, the audience, we just want to kind of come through and talk to you about some of the key things that have been on our minds here. So let's get right into it. We got a few topics we got to cover today. This is our weekly recap. And number one, yesterday, Mr. Carey Price himself, not wearing a cowboy hat, but he did address the media. And I think he needed to clear the air after so much has been said on his behalf without him directly speaking to the public. So maybe Drew and Nick, you can just kind of give us your hot reaction about what happened. Why do you think he talked to the media in the first place? What was on his mind?
It was probably an opportune time, I'm assuming, just with the All-Star break coming up. And it is the midway point of the season. 44 games have been played, so it's actually just over the midway point. So it was a good time for it. Carey was ready. He seemed relaxed and cool and calm enough to talk about it. And the biggest concern that really came out of it, is, of course, was the doubt about the status of his knee. And it sounded like he's not even sure. Like, he doesn't seem to have a clue whether he's going to play again. And that's kind of a big deal if, all things considered. We don't really know how bad the injury is ultimately. He keeps having setback after setback. And he's going to be 35 this year, right? So he's not getting any younger, as we know. But that was probably the biggest thing that leapt off that was the biggest surprise, I would say, for those that were watching the press conference. Is this? No one knows, including Carey, whether he's going to play for the Habs or any team, because, with all the trade speculation. And then, of course, he addressed that as well, that he's motivated just to put on the sweater again. So that was really cool to hear, that he just wants to put on the Montreal Canadiens sweater again. He signed the 8-year contract, he said, because they want to be here. Him and his wife and family, they're settled here. They're happy here. So at the end of the day, he has the choice whether he moves. So, but right now it's about his health. It's the next 2 weeks, figuring out if his knee is going to be good enough to play, not only this season, but going forward too.
I think with the lack of, like you said, he's anxious to know what's going to happen, but with the lack of information and certainty about the season, for me, I was actually kind of hoping that they would just shut him down for the rest of the season. There's no point. I know we're going to talk about the goalie situation a little later on here, but there's no point in, I don't think they're rushing him, but to adding that extra pressure on him. Why not just shut him down for the rest of the season, let him rehab properly, and then he's going to be top shape for training camp, hopefully. But Drew, like you said, I think the most important thing here was that he doesn't want to move. He's happy where he is. He's settled. And we know that Carey Price wants to be a Montreal Canadien regardless of what happens. So I'm happy he's well. He seems to be well mentally. That was a huge part of the conference as well, addressing the support from the fans, the support from his family, which he was tremendously thankful for. So I'm happy on that aspect, that he was able to maybe start paving the way for athletes to talk about their mental health. And ideally, it led to the Montreal Canadiens kind of creating this aspect of a team that could be able to help them out in the long run when it comes to mental health. So great to hear him speak, great to have him involved. And James, to answer your initial question as to why he's doing this now, I can't help but think that maybe this is Chantal Maccabé's influence of saying, hey, we need to be a little bit more transparent. We've been seeing it with the news recently. People are more transparent as to what they're saying. So maybe it was time for him to just address the situation and just say a few key words and basically shut people up. Like, I'm fine. I'm going to be coming back when I can. I don't have as many answers as you think.
Yeah. Oh, James is a little muted there.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, I was just going to say, get ahead of things, right? So, there's trade deadline coming up. Just hired a GM. Yeah, I circulated an image of Wayne Gretzky crying at the podium after he got traded from Edmonton, and you guys almost unfriended me. And, because we didn't know what the hell they were going to talk about, right?
We considered.
But Yeah, exactly. But no, he reaffirmed that he's Montreal to the bone. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Clearly, with what happened with Seattle this summer, I don't think he's interested in entertaining any sort of movement thing. And yeah, they did just play Edmonton, who do need a goalie if they want to go the distance potentially. But maybe GM's talk. I don't know. But let's put that all aside. He's here for now. He got in front of the media. He said what he had to say, and no more speculation. He's rehabbing, and until then, we have to deal with the current goalie situation. So we put goalie in quotes because clearly what has been put out there in the last few games has not been working. But guys, can you see any sort of light at the end of this tunnel? I mean, clearly this is not the same system we had last year. We've had Montembeault and we've had McNiven go in, and we've had Primo. It's all been a disaster, unequivocally. So what do we do? What do we do about goalies? Because Carey ain't coming back next week.
DC, you want to go first?
No, I'm letting you go.
Okay.
Just release everyone and just sign people. Like, what are you doing?
Listen, I don't have a magic answer for you. It's, pardon the language, it's been a shit show. We all know it. Right now, we're changing goalies every single period. Nobody stayed for a full game in God knows how long. It's like Montembeault's average is like 5.58 goals per game. It's insane what's going on right now. We don't know who to put in, when to put in, and what to do. At this point, I don't even know. Like, who else are you going to put in, right? You've got Montembeault, that's been your trustee so far. Caden Primo's not ready to be a starter. Montembeault's not even a starter. McNiven's a backup of a backup. Jake Allen is out for at least 8 weeks. Carey Price not coming back. Who are you going to bring up? Poulain from Trois-Rivières? Like, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to be looking at getting somebody at the trade deadline? Are we going to try to make a move? Is Jake Allen going to stay past this season? There's more question marks right now than there is answers. I really don't know what to say, what to do. We cannot rely on anybody right now, and that's a big issue for this team.
I think if Carey is sticking with the team at least for another season, and if Jake gets healthy by the trade deadline, I think you got to consider moving him. And I think Edmonton would be calling right now if Jake Allen was healthy. So that's probably a more affordable move also for Edmonton if they can make it work. They just added Evander Kane, and they're hoping that situation works out. But I think Jake Allen coming in, they need a goalie if they're going to have any chance to get past the first round of the playoffs. In my personal opinion there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jake is healthy enough by March 21st at the trade deadline that, Edmonton's not calling and, offering either. I don't know that he's going to fetch a first. I don't think he would fetch a first round pick. I think it'd be a second or worse, but it's going to be interesting because at least at this point though, with the goalie situation being where it is, again, we have another week off. And I think kudos to this is one positive that's come out of the COVID situation is that everybody's had a chance to have like multiple weeks off this season. So even if we've come back and we've still gone down the tank, and we have, by the way, they've at least gotten more rest and more chance to just unplug, especially going through this very hard season.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, which is with everything that we've seen in the last few games, 6 to whatever losses. I think there was an eight burger somewhere in there, and I'm starting to lose track. Yeah. So the fact of the matter is that this team is in a rough shape, bottom of the standings. And there's really only one way you can look at this, which is that, this is building towards the future, a brighter future with younger players, potentially those drafted very high in the upcoming draft or next few drafts. Are we looking at a Tankapalooza situation? Are we now going to say, now that we have a management team in place, we have the harsh face reality, we're in front of us, that the Montreal fans, the communications work that Chantal and her team have to do is to sell the fan base on this is it. Like, we are okay with losing games because it's going to help us, going forward in the long term. Are we all okay with that? Do you guys accept that? Are you okay with losing more games of Primo between the pipes? Like, you guys, you got to be honest. Like, can you handle it?
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to magically start winning and climb to a playoff spot right now. unless you win every single game for the rest of the season, it's not going to happen. So we have to be realistic about the situation. It is what it is. And we've been seeing this team has been a lot more transparent with the new GM, the new hockey operations with Jeff, well, both Jeffs and Kent. So I'm liking what we're seeing, and I'm going to repeat myself. If we're looking at a rebuild or restructure or whatever you want to call it, the R word, compare it to what you're seeing with the New York Rangers right now. They were basically in the same spot that we were, rock bottom. And within a few years, they were able to climb back up, and now they're 4th in the league. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly the same thing. We never know what's going to happen. Things change, but it's something to look forward to and what we can expect, hopefully. But right now, the initial question you ask, is this Tankapalooza? It sure feels like it. We're letting 4 goals a period. We're switching goalies every single period. At this point, it's like play 10 minutes Montembeault, 10 minutes Primo, and just keep switching. Like, I don't know what else you're going to do.
Well, no, I mean, earlier in the season, though, the point was like, well, once we get the veterans back, once we get more players, Byron's coming, Edmondson, maybe Carey, and they could kind of get this thing back together. But now we're looking at, and I don't want to skip over this question for you, Drew, but I do think it's a 2-part question, which is, defining how the season's going to play out is going to have a direct impact on how we look at the trade market, because you're going to then try to cash in right now on players that have some value and be okay with losing even more. If that's even like, you give away guys like, I don't know, Lehky or Sherrod.
Don't say that too loud.
I know.
Annik is here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want you to answer.
She's just shaking her head over there. Go on, James. I always cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, Drew. No, this is coming right back at you, which is are Molson, Gordon, and Hughes now all sitting there going, we're going to be okay losing because it's going to help us get in position for maybe Shane Wright or even broader, a 2-year, 3-year path towards a rebuild. And again, we've talked a lot about this on the channel over the past few months when things have been unfolding, but now that you have the management team in place, this is a big question. Are they going to be going full steam on this? And it starts with trade bait. So who's on the block for real? And like, who are we going to be sad to see go, but understand like, yeah, okay, Lehky, Sherrod, but then we're talking about guys like Gallagher, right? Players who are beloved, who have alphabet on their jersey. Maybe even Petry. We'll talk about him in a sec. So let's jump into that for a sec. If this is the course we're going, the next way to build value in the club is through trades. What equity do we have that's realistically going to move now at this point, Drew?
Well, I think also now I know Carey said yesterday, by the way, that they're very happy here. I still think, though, that a conversation has to be had with them by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton. Yeah. So that question wasn't asked to Carey, whether or not he's had a conversation with Kent Hughes or Jeff Gorton. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I think it will. Just ask him about how he's feeling once he is healthy. So again, if there is going to be a rebuild, it starts or ends with him. But I think that in Kent Hughes' case, of course, he's going to be having these conversations over the next month and a half, 2 months about who. I mean, Tyler Toffoli made it clear he's happy here, but he's playing well. So you can't not listen to offers on Tyler Toffoli at this point. Josh Anderson, I think, is going to be hard to let go in terms of the speed and skill game that they want to play. So I don't see him leaving. I think they're going to try to hang on to him. And I love Tyler. I just think that you have to listen on, if you get a good offer on him, you got to consider it at this point. We all know Ben Sherrod is at the top of the list of players that are likely going to be gone. Maybe Brett Kulak as a depth defenseman. So, I mean, these conversations are going to be happening. And I think the brass knows at this point, we're not going to try to lose games, but we're also going to try to make this team better starting as soon as next season. So if that's true, then you really have to listen on a lot of offers at this particular trade deadline. Lehky, as we know, with teardrops coming down, I think is a good candidate. Unfortunately, as Annik is a big fan, as a lot of us are. That goal from Evans' beautiful assist last night was a thing of beauty. And honestly, Lehky has been, I think, a fan favorite for a long time. But I think you have to listen on everything, and that's why these new the new Jeff. Well, that's why Jeff Gorton and Ken Hughes are here, is because they're going to do things that Marc Bergevin maybe wouldn't have. He's not going to be attached to players. He's going to listen on absolutely everybody, and that starts at this trade deadline. So I think we have no idea who could be parting ways until we really get closer to the deadline and we actually see names starting to go, because I think it's as unpredictable as anything right now.
Yeah.
Every
trade
single...
bait, not trait bait. Sorry to fix that.
What'd you say?
Ahead, no, it's a trait bait.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Didn't even. Yeah, we obviously didn't read it.
No, it's trade bait. Just want to get that.
Semantics.
Yeah, because we know we're going to get comments about that. No, I was just basically going to reiterate what you said. I think the phone lines are open for every single guy on the team right now. You do have your key players, like you said, Carey Price, that people who don't want to move, but at some point you don't have a choice but to have the conversation with them of, if this is the route we're going down, are you willing to stick? Do you want to be moved? And then you have to respect whatever the player chooses. Like if Carey Price decides he wants to be moved, I have the utmost respect for that decision. He deserves his cup. And if it's with another team, it's unfortunate, but player comes first. He deserves his cup. As for Lehky, like obviously we do not want him to leave. It's going to hurt like hell when and if he does. But the great thing right now is that he is playing so well that he can fetch us that first round and he can fetch us something good. So if we do end up making a move, it's going to be for the well of the team in the long run. So you've got to look at it in a positive way. And that's the positive aspect of it. We're going to have to expect to lose people if we want to be great. It's just the way it works. It's the business of hockey. And I think for the first time in a long time, we're going to be part of a trade deadline where we're going to see some moves. And we might not like them, but in the long run, it might benefit us. So it's just going to have to be what it's going to have to be.
Yeah. The book is not yet written on this, but it's coming to clear focus now with who's running the show, that and just the performance of the team. It's undeniable. This is not sustainable over multiple years. The Montreal fans will burn down the Bell Center. So I just always, as a bit of a Montreal outsider, I just am hesitant to accept that everyone's going to be okay with intentional losing, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
it's so anti-Montreal Canadiens, to go in there and realize like my team can't win and they're not trying to win, and they're doing it.
Well, I wouldn't say, I don't want. Sorry for cutting you off. I don't want to say intentionally like we're not trying to win, because you look at guys like, especially Brandon Gallagher with his presser last night of like, I'm tired of losing. I hate losing. You know, the type of guys that it affects in the long run. And I've seen it like from my own eyes, meaning Gallagher after a game, like he's just walking down. He's pissed off. It's affecting him. So I don't want to say it's every single guy that's going to say, screw it, we're going to get a better draft pick. You can't be a professional hockey player and think that it's okay to lose just to get a better draft pick. That draft pick might not even work out. And you're never guaranteed a first round pick. So what's the point in purposely saying, hey, we're going to tank because it's what it is and go with the odds? So I don't know if I want to agree with that line of, we're purposely going to lose. But as for the fan base, accepting that the team might not win because they can't, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. It already is. We're facing it this year. Do we want to go with several years of that? They're just going to have to find a way to make sure that it's not going to happen for several years and that it's a 1, 2, maybe 3 tops, 3 years of basic reconstruction.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Galley's in a tough boat. He's 29. Yeah. He's put his body on the line for many years. He's probably the hardest guy to sell on a 2 to 3 year rebuild. 100%.
I think Carey made a good point last night too, though, in his presser when he said that he believes that the guys are still trying it, and you know what they are. Like if you look at that shift last night in the third period, just before, and it was totally
a heartbreaker.
Like it was totally our season because we were having the shift of our life and like chance after chance after chance, keeping the puck in. Like you're watching it, and in my head, I'm like, who is this team? And then all of a sudden, Columbus comes back the other way and scores, which is just totally this season, right? Yep. But that showed you right there that these guys are still going to be trying every game. So whatever players are out there, they're still going to be trying, and they're still probably going to lose a lot of times. But you have to find a way to make the team better. I think it's more these guys are going to compete no matter what, no matter who's on the ice. So whatever happens management wise is up to them, and it's up to the guys on the ice to try their best, and that's all you can do.
And if you don't Well, yeah, brings me to Pez. Thanks, James. I was going to say, you already know who's giving their 110% every single shift. And it sucks that it has to be a guy like Pez to be that guy right now, because he's basically fighting for a spot in this lineup. And it sucks that it has to be on him to basically fill everybody's shoes and do everything. Every single guy should be fighting for a spot in this lineup right now, because you don't know if you are safe or not. With the way this team is playing, you might be on the verge of packing your bags and getting the hell out. So I hate seeing effort from, I don't want to say just one single guy, but let's say on a single hand, he is the main guy right now who's day in and day out fighting for a spot, finding fights he has no business fighting. He's basically doing everything right now. He's a Brandon Gallagher without the A.
Right.
That's the way I'm seeing it.
So let's transition to our last point then. So by no means am I suggesting professional athletes or hockey players go out there and not wear this sweater with pride and play hard. Sometimes talent just is, you can't get over the hump with the talent that's being put out there. And if you're Cole Caulfield, hopefully he gets back on soon. But Nick Suzuki, who's been very professional this season, goes out there, plays hard, handles business. He knows that this is going to have to play out over some time, and he's going to work his ass off, but he's not going to set his expectations to anything more than like, this is kind of a write-off. Right. So, but I don't think it, again, impacts his effort. He's too much of a pro. So, you mentioned, our good friend, Michael Pezzetta, and, him dropping the gloves, after, the goalie run, where, how do I set this up? Like, Monty gets run.
I can
in the Edmonton game. Yeah. Petry's just standing there, basically like casually discussing what happened with the enforcer, and then it takes how many minutes for Pezzetta? It was the overtime, I think, or not overtime, but the next period, was it?
End of the third period was the first shift. Michael Pezzetta went on the ice.
Tip the scales back, right? The hockey gods needed to be served, and so he dropped the gloves. He got worked by Cassian, no doubt, but it was admirable. He went in and cleaned up the mess. So what happened there? And why was Petry sort of so complacent in the situation?
Annik, just go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so this is absolutely no disrespect to Jeff Petry as a person whatsoever, before I get slammed by a bunch of people here. This is about what's going on the ice. So this is not the first time that you get a goalie that's being run on the ice and Jeff Petry skates up and does nothing. Not to sugarcoat it, it happened with Carey Price versus the New Jersey Devils, where Carey went after the guy himself. And you got Jeff Petry who's saying, well, looking back on it, I should have done something. I didn't see the hit. I just see the goalie going down. Okay, so if the goalie went down, it's because he got hit. You should be going after your guy, regardless of who hit him. I know it's Zach Kassian, is one of the toughest guys in the league. You do not have to fight him. You just have to skate up to him, push him, I don't know, bear hug him from the back. I don't give a shit what you do.
Show him a sign that it wasn't okay.
Thank you. You can verbally assault him with your words if you want. Like, I really don't care what you do. Defend your goalie. And this doesn't only apply to Jeff Petry. It applies to the other four guys that were on the ice that basically skated away too. Dominique Ducharme said at the end of the game, I'm expecting the 5 red jerseys to skate in the corner and to take care of it. Why did it have to be Michael Pezzetta, basically next period, to go fight him? And Tyler Toffoli flat out said you had Pez on the bench that was shaking his knee and he was ready to go after him. And it took Dom Ducharme over, 14 minutes to put him on the ice to go settle the score? He should have put him on the ice when the third started to go settle the score. So everybody's to blame here. I don't understand what Montembeault did to deserve that lack of respect. There was a replay where Montembeault's sitting at the bench. Zach Kassian skated by and said something to him, and you saw Montembeault going, it's okay, don't worry. But the lack of disrespect, I think the whole fan base agreed that this was the lowest moment of the season, where you see that your team isn't even able to defend its own player. I don't understand it. I don't.
That's a tough one. And you know what? Like, I also thought, like, my gosh, like, was Josh Anderson on the ice? I don't think he was.
No.
because if he was, you know, Josh is going after him. Like Josh fought Lucic last season, and like, you know, going into that fight, Lucic has probably got the upper hand, but Josh stayed with the best fighter, and he's better than Cassian. Lucic is, and if Josh was on the ice, I think he would have easily run up to him and gave him the business or dropped the gloves right away. So it shouldn't have been only Pez, but if Josh was on the ice, I think that was a clear cut. He would have gone after him 100%. And I wish he had that opportunity, but I don't know. I don't know if they're just worried about losing more players or whatever it is, but it's still not good enough. If that was Carey Price getting hit, if it was even Jake Allen, like, come on, guys, like somebody was going to go after them if it was one of those two guys, in my opinion.
Yeah. You don't have to fight. You just have to take a stand, say something, push him around. Like, I don't know, just
do something.
Just
like something more than nothing. That became the story of the game, and it's sad that like, you know, that became the story of the game, but it was.
And now you've got, I'm just going to touch on this quickly here. You know, it's okay for us to discuss what happened on the ice, to be upset at the player, to be judgmental about it. Heck, I'm one of the first person who went off on Twitter and said, like, are you freaking kidding me? Nobody went to defend this guy. But to turn around afterwards as a fan or just a hockey fan and start addressing players' families, their kids, and everything on social media, whether it's whatever it is, to disgrace them and bully them, harass them, is just not acceptable, you guys. Like, we saw Julie Petry yesterday on her Instagram, who posted a fan interaction where she replied, and it's not even worth repeating what the individual said, but it's unacceptable. You know, we know Jeff Petry's not doing well. There's rumor that he did ask to be traded. There's rumors that he did not ask to be traded. Whatever's going to happen with Jeff is going to happen. It's going on the ice. We're not happy. It's 100% sure. Nobody's happy right now, but to go attacking their families, it's unacceptable. So if you're going to be judgmental about a player, just be respectful about it and don't attack their families, is basically what I have to say.
Yeah, common sense, but you know, common sense isn't so common.
Common sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess let's put a bow on this show. Thank you for watching. There's still ways to enjoy this season. Obviously, trade speculation is always a ton of fun. I'd be ready. I think we collectively need to be ready that we're going to see some fan favorites out the door. And but that being said, you know, there's silver linings all over the place. Pezzetta, you know, give him the Team Spirit Award or whatever you want to call it. He's been a pleasure to watch and sort of someone that we hope we're pulling for to be a longer term fixture here. Because that attitude is infectious. It is the kind of spirit you want when you are not playing well. Just that fighting spirit that gets you somewhere. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for joining me and having a chat. If you're watching today, just don't forget that subscribe button. We've been here a while now. We're almost at our 1 year anniversary of the channel. Hit that sub. We just hit 13,100 subs. Hit the thumb. Please like the show if you like it. If you like Nick, if you like Drew, I don't care if you don't like me. Just give us the
You don't have to like us. Just like the show. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we'll keep hitting you with some pre-game, post-game reactions, you name it. And if you like merch, if you like wearing Habs Tonight merch, Drew, can I still have Sativity shirt? Yeah, and Nick, I'm not wearing. Mine's from the Team Store. Thank you, Team Store. But
jeez, thanks.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Well, I was upstairs.
I just wanted to say quickly before we log off, we do have Autour de la Ligue with Shane and myself tonight live at 7. We're doing a Montreal Canadiens mid-season edition show. So if you want to join us for that, for our French-speaking fan base, even if you don't speak French and you want to watch, you're more than welcome. So join us live at 7 tonight for that show.
Wonderful. I was going to try to say something in French, but let's not ruin it.
Montembeau.
Montembeau. Yeah.
Poutine, oui, oui.
C'est ça.
Right. Well, it's a good show. Watch it. Hit like, subscribe. I'm James. That's Nick. That's Drew. Thanks for watching.
Enjoy the All-Star game. Nick Suzuki. Represent.
Yeah. Woo-hoo.
Cheers, guys.